So Bruce, you have been in this industry for a good decade at least. And so I'm hoping to glean from you some next steps for us at Gibby's. So when you're looking at your properties from an asset management point of view, I'm going to kind of ask you that first. What are the top 5 metrics that you look for on your properties, and why do you feel those are important?
Sorry, I had muted myself. It was noisy here. All that matters is NOI. At the end of the day, you can focus on revenue, you'll get revenue, but maybe at an over heavy expense. Focus on expense at the expense of revenue. And so I think at the bottom, at the end of the day, the best thing to focus on is NOI, and it's best to create a comp plan structure that incents your people on site to focus on NOI. Now, they're not going to have the experience that you will have had and how that impacts everything. They wouldn't have gone to business school or anything like that, but you can start to teach them the basics. And I think that they start to think more like a business owner, because we may own a 5, 10, $20 million asset, and there's someone that's making $30,000 or $40,000 a year that's basically running the ship. And if you don't teach them how to make good decisions day to day, it's not going to be very successful. I'll give you an example. We had a asset that I guess they had carved off a bedroom out of a 2 or 3 bedroom unit and made it an extra office for a regional manager. This is before we bought this asset. And either way, it needed to have a bathroom put in it, whether it stayed as a standalone or whether it was put back into the other unit. And so they were pushing, hey, we need to take this wall out, put it back in another unit. I said, well, let's talk about that. I said, how much rent will we get incrementally if we add that bedroom? It's like, $100 extra a month. And they said, and what will we get if we rent it as an efficiency? Well, probably $600 a month. What do you think we should do? Like, well, we should probably just do it how it is. I'm like, exactly, let's go do that. And so it's just taking the time to explain to them why that's a good decision, and they start thinking that way. Or, hey, if there's not money in the operating account, ask me for it. Don't just forego that, assuming $1,200 of plumbing fees, because we had a situation where there's literally a plumbing bill, it's going to cost $1,200 to take 3 units back online. So they just didn't ever ask for the money. And they were offline for 6 or 9 months. And, the amount of revenue that cost us was terrible. So I think teaching them how to think, how you want them to think about running the business, and then just staying on top of them, trust but verify, as they say. You have to be able to monitor these things. Occupancy is obviously a key driver, but it's not the most important driver, because if they're not paying, if they're bringing in tenants and they're not paying, then that's not very helpful either. It's probably counterproductive. So it's a combination of things for sure. But work orders, that's one thing that a lot of newer investors don't really focus on. But if you're a tenant in an apartment, because we've all been there at some point, what's important to you? Hey, if you call and something's broken or leaking, that they come fix it right away. And if you do that, you make your tenants happy and they're willing to renew. And if you don't do that, they move out. And so it's really simple. And so work orders are something we focus on, making sure that, especially in this labor environment, that those maintenance guys are getting that done, motivated to get it done, and making sure that the leasing agents are motivated to screen the people effectively. And you have to be careful on how you're comping, and you really do, because if you're comping just for applications, or you're comping just for getting someone to move in, then that's what you're going to get, and they're not going to pay the next month. They won't have been screened effectively. So it has to be a combination.
I appreciate that. I really like the educational piece of that, and helping them to understand, our business model and why we're looking to do what we're doing. I like that perspective. Thank you for that.